Hello, if you're watching this, I'm assuming that you are wanting to see just one more example of classes because, to be fair, they are pretty complicated. So what I'm going to do in this video is really quickly go over a class definition for a die, like a dice roll. So, of course, to build a class, the first thing I do is use the class keyword and then the name of my class. I'm going to call this die for like a single dice. And I'm going to go ahead and save that. Now, remember that we have to set our init function. The init function is going to be anything that needs to happen when we create a new object of class die. So I'm going to say def underscore underscore init underscore underscore. Of course, it takes the self argument. And then I think I'm also going to have it have a sides argument. And I'm going to set this equal to 6 by default, but we can always override that. And this is basically going to set self.num sides, right? And you know, if you play any like fantasy games or board games, that die can have multiple sides, not just 6. So we're going to say self.num sides equals sides. And then let's see, do we need any other instance or class attributes? Well, I think what I'm going to do is actually have this die keep track of the roles it's taken, but that's going to be a class method. No, that'll be an instance method. So we'll go ahead and say self.roll history, and then we're just going to set it equal to an empty list. All right, and we say print die created. Beautiful. All right, so let's make some instance methods. I'm going to say def add roll. So this is going to say self, of course, and then roll. This is basically a function that is going to take in the roll that we just rolled and add it to roll history so we can like keep track of what this die has rolled. So I'm going to say roll or self.roll history dot append roll. Beautiful. Actually, let's just call this R because I don't want to type that out. Beautiful. Okay, so let's do another method and let's call this roll. This is going to roll the die for us. So we're going to say def roll self. This doesn't need any other arguments. We're going to say roll equals random.randint. And again, we need to import random. So let's do that, import random. So random.randint. And we're going to go from 1 all the way up to self.num sides. So this is going to be our roll. We're going to print you rolled a, and then plus string and whatever we rolled. And then we're going to say self.add roll. So we're going to actually call this other method and it's going to add the roll that we just rolled to our roll history. And then we're going to return the roll. So this basically rolls for us, tells us what we rolled, adds it to our roll history, and then returns it in case we want to store whatever it is that we rolled. All right, let's create a multiple roll function. So I'm going to say def roll mult. And this is going to take in self, of course, and then n. N is going to be like the number of times we want to roll the die, or like the number of die we want to roll, excuse me. So I'm going to say r equals self.roll for I in range 0 to n. So this is going to basically roll n die, or roll the die n times. And then I'm going to return r. This is just in case we want to store the results of those rolls. All right, now that we have that, I'm going to go ahead and actually create some die. So I'm going to say Glenn equals die, and let's say Glenn has 20 sides. So we're going to create Glenn, and then I'm going to roll him. I'm going to say Glenn.roll. And remember that Glenn can return the roll that he rolled. So I'm going to say x equals Glenn.roll. And then we'll go ahead and print out x. And this should already print out, right? Because the roll function prints you rolled a whatever. But this is going to go ahead and just show you that you can also like return the roll. So let's go ahead and open. And we'll say okay. So when we executed this code, you can see that when Glenn was created on line 27, the init function ran, and so we said die created. Then we called Glenn.roll, which does the self roll. So we said you rolled an 11, and then we saw that we actually stored 11 inside X because it returns the value of the roll. Okay, let's create another die. Let's say die 2. Actually, let's call this coin. So we're going to say coin equals die 2, because remember, like a two-sided die is basically a coin, like heads or tails. So we're going to create that, and then we're going to say coin.roll. And let's go ahead and run that. Okay, so you can see we created Glenn, we rolled Glenn, we created the coin, and we rolled a 2. So we'll say like 1 heads, 2 tails. Now, let's say you and I are trying to decide where to go out to eat. And if we roll heads or 1, you get to decide. And if we roll tails or 2, I get to decide. But let's say it's best 3 out of 5. So let's go ahead and comment this out. And we are going to say coin.roll mult. And again, we don't need to give it a self argument, right? Because that's what dot notation tells us. But we are going to say best 3 out of 5. So I want to flip this coin, so to speak, 5 times. All right, let's go ahead and run this. Okay, so it says we rolled a 1, a 2, a 1, a 1, and a 2. So heads wins, which means you get to decide where we eat. Let's roll coin another time. We'll say coin.roll. And then remember, we have the attribute, what is it called? Roll history, which should tell us all of the rolls that this coin has made. So we'll also print out coin.roll history. There we go. All right, so this is going to re-roll everything, but let's go ahead and run this. Beautiful. So you can see that when we did best 3 out of 5, actually I won this time. And then we rolled a separate 1, and you can see that roll history, which is keeping track of all the rolls that this die made, is 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 1. Awesome. All right. I hope that was helpful, and I will see you next time.